Hey everybody, it's Michelle with Gardening with the Landscape Connection. Today we are going to cut and dry some herbs. How many of you use herbs out there? Probably lots and lots and lots of you. How many of you are buying them at the grocery store? I do not buy herbs at the grocery store. Now I buy stuff like salt and pepper and things that I can't grow. But if I can grow it, I'm not buying it because I'm drying my own herbs to make sure that I have enough to get through the whole winter. I also use those herbs fresh through the summer, so I'm always in herbs. The other thing is I know how those herbs were grown. I know that I grew them as organically as I could. I put no insecticides on them, and they're, I guess I'm gonna call them pure, because I use non-GMO. A lot of them I grow from plants or I grow from seed, and I grow both perennials and annuals. So today we're gonna go through and I'm gonna show you what I do to cut and dry my herbs. So what do herbs need to grow? They basically just need sun, moisture, and good drainage. Do you know in the Mediterranean, a lot of the herbs that they use there, like oregano, lavender, sage, rosemary, those dry herbs that can handle not having so much water on them, they grow in the cracks of the sidewalk. So my goodness, if they can grow them in the cracks of the sidewalk, you guys can grow herbs, whether it's in a pot or in the ground. They are some of the easiest things out there to grow. So let's go ahead and get started harvesting herbs, and when is the best time to do it, and what are some good practices when you're doing it. Now, before we get started, there are annual herbs and there are perennial herbs. So you want to make sure that you know which one it is that you're harvesting. When you purchase herbs, it should say on the tag or even the seeds, if it's an annual or a perennial, so that way you know an annual is going to grow once through the season and then it's going to be done. A perennial is an herb that's going to come back year after year after year. Now there are a few out there that are biennials and they will come back the next year, like a parsley here in zone 5, but it's not as good the second year, so I treat it like an annual. I also have some herbs that I grow, like mint, that I treat it as a annual, even though it's a perennial, because if I plant it in the ground, it's going to take over my whole entire world, and I don't want that. So I always plant mint in a pot. So make sure you know in your zone which are annuals and which are perennials so that you can harvest them properly, because there is a little bit of a difference in how you harvest the different herbs. Okay, so I'm going to show you the tools that I'm going to use to go and harvest herbs. Okay, one thing is I do use my little straight pruners right here. I use the little minis. I like these because they give me a nice clean cut. Now you can use a pair of scissors and you can pinch with your fingers, but sometimes when you're cutting things like lavender, they're a little more woody and you really don't want to be pinching it with your fingers because you'll have a hard time just getting it to give you a nice clean break. The other thing is it's a good time to cut your herbs on a clear day, and you want to do it in the morning. That is when the essential oils in the herbs are going to be at their highest. So there's like this little window between like 9 and 11, at least where I live in zone 5. In the morning, you want the dew to dry, but you don't want the heat of the summer, or the heat of the sun out either. So that window right there is like your window to do it. I also bring rubber bands around with me because I cut and rubber band as I go, and I bring a marker with me because some herbs can look a lot alike. So think about it. If you're growing Greek oregano and then you're growing Italian oregano, now the Italian oregano leaves are a little bit smaller, but when they start to dry up or you get them all inside in the kitchen, some of these herbs start to look a lot alike. Lemon parsley, English parsley, there is a difference in the leaves if you know what you're looking for, but they look a lot alike. So if you don't want to mix your herbs up, have a marker with you. The other thing that I do is I have paper with me. Now we get these in the flower boxes. They line the flowers when they come in every day. So I always have lots of this, but newspaper works great. And so I use this to like lay my herbs in, and then I'll roll it up, and then I'll put the name of the herb on the outside of the paper. When I roll it up, I do it really super loose because I don't want to bruise it. Now I don't harvest into Ziploc bags or things like that because it will create, there'll be moisture that'll be created in the bag, and that will damage your herbs. I also don't go get a big bag and just start stacking them up in the bag because that bruises my herbs, and I don't want to do that either. So I have a tendency to cut, rubber band, and then I will either roll them up in one of these if they're smaller leaves, or I lay them in a big flat bottom basket, and then I'll lay the paper in between the layers so that I keep them separated. Another little tip that you can do, and this saves you a lot of time when you're getting ready to dry them as far as having them clean, is I will go through a couple days before I'm getting ready to harvest, and I'll make sure that any weeds that are in where I'm gonna cut are gone. I'll also take my hose on a mister and I'll clean all of my herbs off that way. Then they've got a couple days to dry, and then I know they're nice and clean, so I don't have to spend time cleaning the herbs in the kitchen. For me, that works really super well, so I do that at that time. Now, if you are picking flowers for fragrance, you want to pick them just before they bloom. So if you're picking them because you want the flowers and you want the flowers to use because you want all the petals, you're going to pick them right after they open. So a couple things on that. If you're picking like flowers, we are going to be picking calendula, and I think I've already picked all the lavender out, but I might have a little patch that we can pick, and I can show you that as well. Now, the other thing is if you're picking for leaves and you're picking perennials, you want to pick them before the flowers bloom. Also, with basil, you really don't want that to go to flower either. The leaves have a tendency to get a little bitter, so you want to pick the leaves before you get flowers or before they're blooming. The other thing is if you're picking flowers, I have a tendency to run them back and forth into the house, but if you are in an area where you can't do that, like we are going to be at the cut flower garden, so we are going to be cutting some of the herbs out there, and I can't run them into the house. So I'm going to make sure as I cut them, I'm going to put them in the shade. That will help them not stress as much either. Okay, I'm not going to go in any particular order. I'm just going to go like I have lavender right here, and I'm going to harvest it. I will tell you in zone 5, which is where I am, whether or not this is a perennial or an annual, and I'll show you how I'm going to cut it and dry it. I think we'll go through just the ones that I need to harvest today, and then I'll show you all of that. So without further ado, let's get started. So this here is a nice patch of lavender. We actually grow this in the bed that's in our glass greenhouse, and this baby overwinters here for us in this greenhouse. It will not overwinter for us in the ground outside, so we have to treat this as an annual here. It is a woody one, and in some lower zones, you probably can grow this as a perennial, but for me, it's an annual, but we can cut on this if I keep it in here. So I always grow my lavender in the glass greenhouse. I do have a little patch at my house, but it never ever gets big enough for me to be able to get like a great big harvest like I'm gonna get on this one. So what I'm gonna do with this one is I don't wanna cut down into the really woody section down at the bottom. I just wanna cut that nice, fresh, new growth at the top. So what I do is I cut a whole bunch, I gather them into a bundle, and I rubber band them. So let me show you. I'm gonna reposition the camera and I'll show you what I'm doing. Okay, so because it is an annual here, I'm gonna harvest, and I'm just gonna come in here and I'm just gonna cut the new growth on here. And see, I'm gonna bundle it together like this, and I'm just gonna line the bottom of the stems up like this. And I'm gonna get probably 5 or 6 stems, and then I'm gonna take a rubber band and I'm gonna rubber band this, and then I'm gonna have a little bundle. All right, so let's just get some cut. So I want my bundle to be about, about that thick right there. And then I'm just gonna take my rubber band and I'm gonna rubber band it like this. See, and there's my bundle. And then I'm just going to, I'm gonna lay it in my basket. So there it is, and I'm gonna make about probably 6 bundles. So I'm gonna keep going. It's actually really good for the plant to cut it back because it's gonna promote new growth. So, I broke my rubber band. I hate when that happens. Gotta get a new one. You do want to squeeze this together at the top, and when you put that rubber band on there, it's not just twice, it's like 5 or 6 times. You want to get it tight, because remember, you're drying this and it's going to shrink as it dries, so you don't want it to fall off the thing that we're going to put it on to dry. Okay, so make sure you get that on there nice and tight. All right, I've cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, there it went, 8, 9. So I have 9 bundles, and this will make me 3 mason jars, or that I can give, 1 for me and 1 for each of my girls. All right, I've wrapped mine in a little bundle here. I've labeled it rosemary, although I don't know that I'm gonna mix it up with anything, but it is a good practice to do. I did cut 1 bundle here that I'm gonna go inside I'm gonna put it in a vase of water, and then I'm gonna keep this in my refrigerator so I have a fresh bundle of rosemary to use as well, because we're gonna make some butter logs with these. So got some fresh too. Now, if you look at the plant, you can see there's a lot of plant left, and I just kind of cut off the top and the edges, and then this will push out new growth and I can cut again. Okay, so when you're harvesting annual herbs, and we are getting ready to harvest some chives. So this is garlic chive, or this is onion chive, and this is garlic chive. I've already harvested this once this year. This is my second time harvesting it. You want to cut them back quite severely. So if you are like just cutting on them and using them like through the summer, you're going to cut from the outside in, and you're going to cut and leave about 4 to 6 inches of stem in here. And I'll show you, you can see where I harvested it the first time, and then it's growing some more. And if you're going to harvest for drying or for using now, you're going to harvest the whole thing. So what I like to do when I'm growing chives is I grow at least 2. That way, if I cut one all the way back, I have another one that I can continue to cut on and use fresh. These are one of the ones that you can also cut, put it in a vase of water or a little glass of water, and you can keep it in your fridge, and they have a really super long hold time, so you can get some good use out of it that way too. So let me show you, you can see where I did the first cuts. Okay, so I've gotten it really close, but you can see here, see these little brown stubs right here? That's where I did my first cut. And so I'm gonna cut right above that right here, and then I'm gonna bundle it as I go, because I'm gonna dry them. Now you can tell the difference between an onion chive and a garlic chive, because an onion chive is more cylindrical, whereas a garlic chive is flatter. The other thing I do is if in my bundle I'm going to have any of these dried up ones here, I just pull those out now so I don't have to do it later. Then I'm going to gather up a bundle, and I'm only going to gather it up as big as I want to rubber band the bundle. So I just gather it up in my hands, I get my cutters, and I go in and I cut it. See, and I only have a bundle about that big. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my rubber band, which I have in my pocket here, if I can get one out. If I can get one out. Oh, I just dropped like 10 of them on the ground. Well, anyways, I'm going to get my rubber band. Come here. I'll deal with that later. All right, get my rubber band, and I'm going to rubber band it up. And again, you want to do it more than twice. Do it 2 or 3 times so that you're pulling it pretty tight. Because remember, these are going to shrink as they dry. See, and then I've got my little bundle here that I'm going to use, and I'm going to throw that in my basket, and I'm going to cut this patch out and make all my bundles. Okay, now I picked out one patch right there, and I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got 10 bundles. And so you don't want to make the bundles so big that they can't dry though. So see, these aren't very big. So 10 bundles out of just one. That's why you don't need a lot. This is going to dry, and if I put 3 bundles in one mason jar, that's enough, see right here, for 3 people for all winter. Now I am going to cut a little bit more so I have some fresh, so I can make some other things too. Okay, I'm gonna do the same exact thing with my garlic chives. And as you can see here, a garlic chive is a lot, the leaf is flat. So see how flat those are versus the cylindrical leaves. And see, it's starting to get a little flower on there. I like to harvest before the flowers get on the second time, and these are starting to get flowers on them. You can see right there. Now the first time I harvested with the flowers on because I was doing this little dinner party, and I threw the flowers in the salad, and you can eat the flowers, so that was kind of cool. All right, so again, I'm gonna bundle this, make sure it's nice and tight. See, there's my little bundle right there. All right, I'm gonna proceed to harvest this out. Okay, I've got a little bit left in the one on the end, but I did end up getting, see, 9 bundles. So there we go, 9 bundles, and I got some on my little paper here that I can use fresh, and I'm just gonna roll those up real gently, and I'm gonna mark those garlic chives. All right, there it is, garlic chives. All right, now we're gonna move on to oregano. Okay, the next thing we're gonna harvest, this is Greek oregano, and you can see here how it's starting to get flowers on it, but the flowers aren't open. I wanna harvest this before the flowers open, and I probably should have done this one a week ago. I have already harvested it once, and I'm gonna harvest it again. And again, I made sure I went through and I pulled out any weeds that I saw, and I did have a few, like grassy weeds in here. And I do have it growing next to a patch of calendula here. But what I'm going to do is go in and do the exact same thing. I'm going to cut it down and then I'm going to bundle it up. Now, these are all perennial herbs, and as you can see, I've cut them back to the ground. You can keep cutting perennial herbs in bunches as long as they're growing for you, all the way up until about the beginning or the mid part of September. Then you hit the mid part of September and you don't want to be cutting them anymore because they won't have time to harden off. So for me in zone 5, the oreganos, both the Greek and the Italian, and this is a Greek oregano here for me, and the chives, they are perennials for me here. So I think the easiest way to do it is to kind of like go to the bottom and look for like where you planted the plant, and I kind of just gather it up and run my fingers through it. Now, if you want to do this with gloves, go for it, because there might be spiders in here. But they usually run away before they ever get to where I am. And then, see, if I see a weed, I try to pull it out because I don't want that in my bundle. All right, so what I'm going to do, see, I just kind of comb it through my hands here. And then I'm going to put about 6 inches. I'm going to cut it. See, and then I'm going to get a bundle like this. And then I just look at the bundle and I look at, is there anything in this bundle that I don't want? Are there any weeds or undesirables in here? And it doesn't look like there's anything I don't want. And again, you can dry this like the leaves individually, but I'm all about ease. And so what I do is I rubber band as I go. And so I'm gonna rubber band this. I'm actually gonna make it a little bit thicker, maybe just get a little bit more. Okay, I'm gonna get a little bit more in here. And then I'm just gonna rubber band this little guy, and I'm going to throw it in my basket. So again, rubber band it, make sure you're pulling it nice and tight so that way when they shrink, they don't fall off. And there you go, 1 bundle of Greek oregano. Yeah, and I'm gonna keep going. Okay, so here we go. I picked a little bit of fresh, and I'm gonna gently roll that up in my paper, and you can use newspaper. I am gonna label it because I have regular oregano too, and I don't wanna mix them up. So this one is the Greek, and I'm gonna put that in my little basket here, and then I ended up getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So as you can see here, I got 6 bundles, but I did not, cut into the woody part of the plant. I just cut the top part of the plant off. And this will regrow, and I'll probably get 1 more cutting out of it. So this was actually my second cutting on the Greek oregano. All right, I ran out of paper, so what I'm gonna do is I have a label that I made that says Greek oregano. I'm just gonna lay it on my bundle here, and then just take a big rubber band and rubber band all my little bundles into a big bundle, kind of like that, so that I keep it totally separate. This way I don't mix it up. Okay, I'm gonna also harvest calendula. So I had all of this growing in the same bed. So what I'm gonna do is I just come in and I just get the flower head. Now, one of the things I love about calendula is if you look really close at this, do you see all that black in there? Those are aphids. So this is a host plant for me that all the aphids go to, but it doesn't stop me from being able to harvest all of the flowers. So the one thing you want to make sure you do though is you do want to kind of tap the flowers themselves so that there's no bees in there. I have harvested before and stung myself because there was a bee, like right here, there's a bee on there. And I don't want to put my finger on the top of the flower, cut it, and then that bee stings me, because they will. And sometimes I miss the flowers. So as you can see, I'm getting these right before they're getting ready to open. Some of them have already opened. And I've been harvesting calendula now, I don't know, for a good 3 weeks. So this is what I've got here, and I'm going to dry these when we get home. And I just keep picking on these, like come out like every 3 or 4 days. And I don't try to get the aphids off. I want the aphids to go here. That way they don't go on my other plants, because this is the vegetable garden out here too. I don't know if you can see this, but I've also been trying to grow eucalyptus this year, and it's not doing too bad. I am going to cut some of the longer ones now. I don't know if it regrows or not. I've never done it before. So we're going to cut some of the longer ones though, because we're going to dry those as well. Okay, the next one is, this one is lemon thyme. And I know it's lemon thyme because the edges of the leaves have yellow on them. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see that or not. Let me see. Ah, there it is. Okay, so see how it's got the yellow on the edges of the leaves? And I can smell it too. So this is thyme, and I have already harvested it once, but again, I'm going to do the exact same thing. It is a perennial for me. Ooh, there's a spider. Get out, go, go, go. I was going to grab him. He's just a daddy long leg. But I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to grab a bunch of it like this. See, just like that. Now this I will actually dry differently. So I'm just going to put it in my basket. And then if I will throw a tag on it. I do have regular thyme too. Okay, so I'm just going to harvest the tops. And I'm going to harvest quite a bit of it. I hope that spider went away so I'm not. All right, and you can harvest all of it. Okay, I'm going to leave a good portion of it so that it'll regenerate and rejuvenate. I'll probably get another cutting out of this as well. Let me get a little bit more here. Thyme isn't my go-to favorite, so I don't do a lot of it. I only have this one patch here, and then I have another patch of English at my house. And so this is really all I have. So I'll just dry enough that I'm going to use, you know, and that's it. All right, so there you go. I don't need to cut any more. I mean, I got a good amount right there. So I don't think, can you see it? I don't know. The sun's in my eyes, so I can't see what I'm filming. So I hope you can see that. But there you go. There's my thyme. Let's go over to the house, cut what's over there, and then we'll look at all our bounty and I'll show you how to dry it. Okay, so here's mint, and as you can see, I have mint growing in a pot. And I'm only going to pick as much as I want to dry or do a project with. And I take the stem down pretty low, and I just grab it like this. And I'm only going to harvest one bundle. Now you don't want the mint to flower, so if you do see flowers starting on the mint, grab and cut those pieces first. And if you get like a brown leaf like that, just pull it off or pinch them off, okay? So that's all I'm gonna harvest right there. And again, I'm gonna bundle it up with a rubber band and put it in my pile. Okay, so I also have an annual bed of herbs, and I have flat leaf parsley here, I have curly parsley in the back, and then I have 4 or 5 different kinds of basil. But the basil that I really like is the purple perpetual. I just grew this for the first time last year. I love this basil. It doesn't flower, and so it just keeps on growing and producing, and I don't have to come out here and worry about getting it in time before the leaves come. So sometimes I end up wasting basil because I don't have time to dry it, or I don't have time to use it, and I need to get the flowers off of it. So I love this one. So I am growing some different ones though. I have a Thai basil and a purple basil and a sweet basil, and then I have this one. So with the basil, when you are cutting the basil and bringing it inside, don't put it in the refrigerator because it doesn't want to be cold. You want to put it in a glass of water and leave it at room temperature. If you're going to dry it, I dry it the same way I do everything else. I gather it into a bundle. And I know they talk about herbs that have higher moisture content and dry these flat and dry these whatever. I don't do any of that. I bundle every single one of them and I dry them in a closet. So I'll show you that in just a minute. Let me gather up some basil, and I think I want to do some sage as well, and I'll just grab that, and then I'm going to show you how I take my bundles and I dry them. Okay, here is everything we harvested. We have lemon thyme. We have rosemary here. See, I have little tags. All right, this is French tarragon. Absolutely gorgeous, got a lot of that. We have our onion chives, our Italian oregano. I did a little bundle of lavender so I could show you that you could bundle it, but I actually just throw it on this tray here with grates, and I just let it dry this way. And then these are straw flowers that I've been drying for a project, so those are on there too. I also have peppermint right here. I have Greek oregano, pesto basil. I have dill. Now, I didn't pick this. I had my girl Tina's growing it, and I don't like to grow dill because it kind of goes all over the place if you don't catch it before it seeds. So she cut me some last night and brought it to me. So here's the dill. And then I have Italian parsley. I have one bundle of curly parsley. I have garlic chives and sage. Oh, and then look, I did get a decent amount of eucalyptus here. So not too bad on that. And then I did also get some calendula. So this is all the calendula right here that we harvested. Okay, so I say that's a pretty good harvest. So typically, you know, if I wasn't filming this and stopping in between all the cuts and everything, I can harvest all of this in about 30 to 45 minutes. It's pretty fast. If you, I wear an apron and then I keep the rubber bands in my pockets, and then I can just keep going. I throw them in the basket, throw a piece of paper, throw them in the basket, and I just keep going. So what I do now is now I'm going to dry the herbs. And so I only am going to dry the thyme on a dehydrator because I could bundle it, but the way I cut it, the stems are pretty small. So I'm going to do that one on a dehydrator. The rest of them I am drying upside down. And so some of them I put in water like this, and I'm going to put them in my fridge because I'm going to be using them in some projects and some cooking that I'm going to be doing here in the next couple days, and I want them to stay fresh. The other thing is I did cut a few extra herbs that I'll be giving away to the girls at the store. They had asked me for some herbs. So I have these little clamshells. I bought these on Amazon last year because I was gifting herbs away to people, and they're just like they are. They're the herb clamshell that you buy at the, you get your herbs in them in the grocery store. And so I just will put herbs in there and close it up. And then, I made little stickers to put on them, and I just used round craft paper, and I made my own little stickers. And so I just put some Italian parsley in here, and I'm going to take this back to the store and give it to one of the girls, and then they can take it home and put it in their fridge. The only one that you don't put in the refrigerator is your basil. Basil needs to sit out in a cup of water at room temperature. Don't put it in the fridge. It'll turn black. Okay. Now, the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my super duper secret weapon, how I dry herbs, and I'm a master at it because I have a lot of herbs. I don't buy them at the grocery store, and so I'm about to show you my secret weapon. This is so awesome. So are you ready? Are you ready? This is my secret weapon. Here it is. It's a hanger. Yeah, it's a hanger. So here's how I do this. I actually use the ties that I get from the garden center that you use to tie your vegetables up. Or if you don't have these and you're that person like Joan, who keeps out her bread ties. That's my dad's wife. And she keeps bread ties, and I don't know why, but she does. But you could use the bread ties and you could tie your herbs onto the hanger. So depending on how big your bundle is, that's how many herbs you can get on the handle or on the hanger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one tie, and then, for example, I'm going to take my garlic chives, and I take my sticker, see, and I put it right on there so that I know what they are, because sometimes when they dry, they all start to look the same, okay? And I'm only going to put garlic chives on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to thread this through right here. I'm just going to thread it through the rubber band. I can just lift up a piece of the rubber band, and then I just, I get two little tails just like that, and then I'm going to tie it onto and just twist it on there, okay? And I'll put, maybe 3 of them on here. I'm gonna hold it up for you when it's done. So I just pick up a piece of rubber band, get on there. I don't wanna mix them up. I'm gonna thread that on there, and I'll probably come around and do the next one. Go to the center. Let me come around so I'm closer and you can see what I'm doing. Let me grab another one and grab a little twist tie here. You just need one twist tie. I think this is like a pack of 100. So I use them over again too. Okay, so here you go. Here's your bundle. Here's your twist tie. I just lift up a piece of rubber band like that, and I thread it through just like that. See? And then I get, it's different when you're trying to hold it up to the camera. See, then I get my little tie like that. See, I just got it on one piece of the rubber band, just like that. And then what I do is I tie it onto, so see how I've got those just tied on there? So now I'm going to come down here, and I'm just going to twist tie that on, just like this, and just, twist it 3 or 4 times. Make sure that they're, separated like this. And I'm going to go hang this in a closet. Yeah, that's my secret. Okay, so there you go. This is my handy dandy drying rack, and you can go to the dollar store and you can buy hangers super duper cheap. And so this is what I use. And then I have a closet that is empty. Well, it's actually half of a closet is empty because closets are dark and they're dry, and that's where you want to dry herbs. and I put them in the closet and I let them dry. So there you go. That is my secret, all right? Now, when they are dry, let me grab. This is why it's so important to label what you're doing, okay? Because, here you go. I did not label these and they dried, okay? And I don't know what they are. I know it's oregano because I can smell it, but I don't know if it's Greek, Italian, or hot and spicy. I could probably eat one and know that it's hot and spicy, but sometimes I have a hard time telling the difference between the Greek and the oregano, but see, I don't know what it is. So I'll probably end up not using it because I was in a hurry and I didn't put the label on it. But what I do after they're done drying, and let me grab one that is dried. So this is rosemary right here, and it is dry. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the bundle and just undo the twist tie, and I'm gonna pull my bundle off just like this. All right, and then I'm gonna take this one. I'm gonna take 3 of these off. And what I do is I just go buy mason jars. So I like to use the little ones like this because they stack in my cupboard really easy. And I know you're thinking, oh, I want to display those. I could put a magnet on those and put them on the side of my fridge or stack them up all cutesy. But the reality is out in the open air or out in the sun, they degrade faster. Herbs like this, they're good for about a year. So you don't want to be making like 100 years worth of herbs. You just want to make enough to get you through the whole winter, and then you cycle through again. So I dried these and cut these, I don't know, they've been drying for about a month. Rosemary takes a little bit longer to dry than others. They all have different drying rates based on how big the bundle is, how woody it is, how big the leaf is. So you just go in there and you check them. Now, if you live in a house that's super dusty or something, I don't know, you could put like a paper bag over it as well, like a lunch sack. You could punch some holes in the lunch stack, put that over the top, and then they won't get dusty. Mine aren't in there long enough to collect dust. So what I'm doing is I don't crush my herbs up until I'm ready to actually use them. So what I do is I take this off, and then I just take my little cutters and I cut the end off because that's where the rubber band was. And I just get rid of that rubber band. So now I'm left with this bundle right here of dried herbs. And what I do is I just cut it in sections. Let me clear a path here. Okay, there we go. So what I do, where's my cutters? Right here, is I just take it and I go from the top down and I just cut them down into the bottle. Okay, and you can push them down in there, and then I just fill this up, and then when it's ready to use, then I just strip them off of the stem, and then I just pack them down in there. See, and I just cut right into the jar. And now I have herbs. This is rosemary. Okay, I have rosemary now because I will use probably 2 of these through the winter. Okay, because there's other things that I'm going to show you in another video that I do with herbs to make other things. We're going to infuse some oils. We're going to make some butters. We're going to actually show you how to make some vinegars where you can do the oil or use the herbs that way too. So then, see, I just put that on there. So there it is. And I get a label. That's why I made the labels, because I think they look nice and I can find things quickly. Now, I'm sure you could just take like a white sticker and write rosemary on there. But the other thing that I like to do as well is I do date everything so that I know how old things are. I grow a lot of herbs, so I have all these stickers. Okay, so then I'm just going to take my little sticker here. Let's see, this sticker is actually a little bit too big for this jar, but I'm going to put it on there anyways. I have other stickers that I use for the jars that I printed that are just stripes. These are actually, I made these for this. But see, then I can put rosemary on there and then I can date it, and then in the cupboard it goes. And that's how I use my herbs all winter long. I know what's in this. I knew what I grew it, what medium I grew it in. I knew that there's no insecticides. I dried it, I grew it. You can't beat it because it's fresh and, well, it's dried fresh, but it's also not crazy old. And I know that there's not woody fillers and leaf fillers and stuff like that, because I know that that's in some of those cheap herbs that you buy. And if you buy like a really expensive herb at the store, they can run you $4 or $5 or more for a really good one. And I don't want to pay that. I can just grow my own, and you can too. It is so easy to do. So I am going to go ahead and hang every one of these on my super duper clothes hanger, and I am going to hang them all in the closet, let them dry, and then I'll be doing them up like this. After some of them dry, then we'll do another video where we talk about what you could do with them, because I don't necessarily use fresh herbs in the process of doing other things, because if they mold, they can make you sick. So I make sure everything I use is dried. So that's all I have for today. That is my video on cutting and drying herbs. The only other thing I'm going to do is I am going to stack up my thyme on the dehydrator. Oh my God, I can speak. And that's it. I'm going to turn it on and let them dry. And then I'm going to put those in a jar and label them and put them in the cupboard. So I am Michelle. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed our video, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye, everybody. Go plant some herbs. Oh, and P.S. This is my favorite thing to do. So, because we can bring fresh eucalyptus in, but I grew this. But I can take the eucalyptus and I can take some rosemary. I'm going to rubber band it together, and then I'm going to hang it in my shower. And it's my little shower buddy. And every time I have steam from the shower that releases, it will infuse the air with this beautiful, aromatic smell. So, little shower buddy, if you ever want to do this. The last couple weeks, so pretty cool. All right, that's all I got for today. Bye, guys.